Every marriage has 3 rings. The engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the bicker ring. We're here to settle the fights that don't matter and have no winner. It's the 3 Rings Podcast with another new argument.
Hey, honey.
Hey.
You want to get sad?
I want to get sad as F, yeah.
Let's do it.
Sad AF.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the topic this week.
I'm super, just whatever about this episode, it's fine.
Nobody understands you.
Nobody understands my pain and my struggle,
No. I would say if there is a genre of music that would define who we are and our taste in music going forward, it would be this one.
I think so.
We were true emo kids.
We are emo kids.
We are emo kids.
And that's what this week's edition of the 3 Rings Podcast is all about.
Yep.
It's about the best emo band.
Yeah, and this one's gonna we're gonna throw down.
There's gonna be crying from everyone.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. But
welcome to this week's edition of the 3 Rings Podcast, the podcast that is literally just about things that don't matter in the grand scheme of life. It's things that you don't really need to argue about, but god damn it, you're gonna.
Yeah. The molehills that we will die on.
Yeah, very much so. But thank you for joining us this week. And before we dive into the topic of the best emo band, a little bit of, I guess, history, backstory with us and why this is so passionate for us, for anybody that doesn't know too much about us as people.
Yeah, what was your introduction into emo music? What led you down that rabbit hole? I know mine.
So I would say that, and I don't really classify them so much as emo, even though they partially kind of fit into that world. I will say that Rise Against was like the first rock band outside of like Linkin Park.
I'd consider them emo adjacent.
Yeah, they're not in the whole
Swing
emo.
Life Away. I would consider an emo song.
100%, it's an emo song, but that's like the one song that you can really like throw in there. Maybe like The Good Left Undone, something like that. But outside of Linkin Park, I wasn't really into rock music until Rise Against and the Siren Song for the Counterculture album. So that kind of started me down the path, which then led me to bands that, were still in the heavier realm. Things like Census Fail.
Yeah.
And then from that, just with the whole emo sound, it was, all right, starting to get slower, like Red Jumpsuit, early Panic at the Disco, and then it was really like Death Cab for Cutie, where it's like, this is true fucking emo.
You were
like,
a huge Jimmy Eat World fan too.
Yep, Jimmy Eat World,
Something Corporate,
and Jack's Mannequin. Like everything in that realm was like my wheelhouse, and this is like right in high school era, so that's like all the nostalgia. So that's my side of things. How about you?
I was a pop princess up until I was introduced to Isley, which I feel like they were super, super emo.
Yeah.
But not a band that gets mentioned as like one of the greats of the time.
No.
But that was the band that got me started on Brand New.
Yeah,
may they rest in peace.
Yeah. I mean the entire Deja Entendu album. It's like, I mean,
they were so good, but Jesse Lacey, ew.
As shitty as he is, it's like, that was a good album. Like, am I going to go back to it anytime soon?
I tended to be more on the, I think you were on the like harder rock side.
Yeah.
I was more on the melodic, like I loved Bright Eyes, Death Cab, like real sad boy stuff. I loved me a sad man. And kind of getting into the more obscure, like my sister and I were super into Neutral Milk Hotel. That was like a big one, a deep cut. But yeah, those were my standards. I loved Say Anything, Taking Back Sunday.
Taking Back Sunday is way up there. I see
Stray Light Run.
Existentialism on prom night.
So good.
And then
so good.
Nothing
but
else.
You know what makes me
that was it.
Rude but true. But you know what drives me crazy is when
What?
you hear about people saying that existentialism on prom night was like their wedding song. Like that song is not a romantic song, you guys.
No, it's depressing
it's
as
sad.
fuck. Don't pick that for your wedding song.
No.
Like, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I've always said that.
Same. But Isley
don't.
was my gateway emo drug.
Okay.
The surprising thing about you is that prior to Rise Against is that you weren't even a pop music person.
No.
You were a like hardcore hip hop guy.
Yeah, I was all hip hop. Like,
I've never known a whiter guy to know all of the words to like every Tupac song. Like I mean deep cuts.
Yeah, a lot of deep cut Tupac. Like a lot of West Coast hip hop was in my wheelhouse. Obviously Eminem, a lot of stuff that was Midwest, and then a lot of things that ended up becoming a little more mainstream, like when Outkast kind of broke out. A lot of the Atlanta sound, like, you know, that was kind of, Southern hip hop, T.I., even fuck you want to include Bubba Sparks.
But yeah,
like, New York stuff. Like I really started getting into Nas, when I was a child.
Yeah, a child. But I was like prior to Isley, I was like solidly into Michelle Branch.
I'm sorry.
Like Michelle Branch was don't hate. She was pretty good. But Michelle Branch was like one of the main reasons why I wanted to learn how to play guitar.
Okay. Yeah. So our musical taste has definitely
we're a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
In the truest sense. Like I can even like get down to like some like I like old school country. Like I love like Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash.
I'll do Johnny Cash.
Phil can do like heavy metal, like heavier than I can do. We are a Venn diagram of musical interests.
But right in the middle
is emo.
Is
the thing
emo
that
rock.
the thing that binds the tie that binds us musically is emo music.
And a lot of people, kind of look past emo because it was kind of the it was like the middle child of music in that era. The nu metal sound was very big in rock, and that really kind of took a lot of precedent over all these emo bands of the same era. So it was an interesting time for music, but a lot of nostalgia is going to come out of this episode, and a lot of hatred is going to come out of this episode because people are very passionate when it comes to emo music, and hence emo.
I am going to I have something that I need to share with everyone.
Uh-oh.
And it has to do with your pick.
Okay.
So, do you want to share who you view as the best emo band of all time?
I mean, it's no question who the best emo band of all time is. It's My Chemical Romance.
And here's the thing that I need to get off of my chest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like My Chem. I never did.
You're so wrong.
I couldn't name a single song off of the Black Parade other than that one song.
Other than that one song, what's the name of that one song?
The Black Parade.
It's Welcome to the Black Parade.
Okay, but see, even I did not like Gerard Way. I did not like My Chem.
Ugh.
I never got into them.
Just
Teenagers. I liked Teenagers. That was it, though.
It's so many good songs.
The
Ghost of You, Helena.
Nope.
I mean, even if you go,
I'm Not Okay literally made me want to like put nails into my eyeballs. I hated that song.
You are going to have some serious issues with Sarah.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Sarah.
That is like her number one emo song.
Oh no.
She is going to claw your eyes out.
I still love you, Sarah.
She is going to like Sparta kick you in the face for that comment.
We're referring to Sarah Jordan from DJX, but I love you, Sarah. I'm very sorry.
That is a bombshell of a statement.
I know, and this has been something that has been weighing on me heavily
something you think about often?
It is
How much
something
you
I
don't
think
like
about.
My Chemical
Yes,
Romance?
but like the fact that like I have not felt like I could share this with people up until now.
That's because it's insulting. Is what
I'm
it
very
is.
Sorry.
Well,
I know.
Who do you think is the best emo band then?
I'm going with Paramore, hands down. Got to give it to my girl Haley.
I love me some Paramore, but how the fuck are you gonna pick Paramore over My Chemical Romance?
I will share my 3 points with
All
you.
right, let's hear it.
Riot was genre defining. Period. They've gone on to be, even since the emo era, nominated for a staggering number of awards and won a significant number of them.
I will
and
argue that.
They continue to have tremendous amounts of success to this day.
I will also argue that with a different counterpoint, but we will get to that.
Okay. I just want to say, though, this isn't even a fair argument because this is the world that you work in.
Yeah. So...
Okay, so anyways.
So starting off on the foot of, here's who I think is the best emo band, and you say I don't even like them. This is going to get real intense.
Yeah, okay. So what are your 3 points?
Okay, you want to talk about albums that are genre defining.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about the Black Parade.
Go for it.
That was my 3rd point.
Go for it.
The Black Parade is genre defining.
Okay.
When you listen to any My Chemical Romance song, you immediately know that it's an emo song. There's no question about it. Like, they are an emo band. And that is how you can define them.
But I think that Paramore's ability to transcend emo music, like they were, like any song off of Riot.
So can Panic at the Disco. So
Okay.
can Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. I
happen to think that...
I happen to think that both of those.
We'll get to that. We will get to that when you can make that point.
Okay,
my,
go for it.
My 3rd point, their reunion, after being gone for so long, nearly crashed the industry. Everything came to a screeching halt.
Which is interesting because I don't remember them really doing a reunion like across the country. Wasn't it like one show?
They did one show, and then they were going to do a lot of other festivals, but pandemic. So
I don't remember seeing their name on any dockets around here anytime recently. But continue.
Christ. Well, those are my 3 points. You immediately know that they're emo. Their reunion was one of the biggest things in rock and alternative of the past year, and the Black Parade is one of the greatest emo albums, and I would say greatest albums of all time.
That's a stretch. But anyways,
all right.
in all of the genres of music, up until this point, you think that the Black Parade
is up
one
there.
out of what?
Out of music,
the
homie.
The top 200?
I mean, I would place it in there. It is a work of art.
Okay.
Okay, miss, I don't even like My Chemical Romance. Of course that's going to be your fucking face in your answer. So let's talk about your pop punk bullshit with Paramore here.
All right,
they did. Heated.
They were pop punk leaning. I would say that, but they are definitely emo.
Let's talk about it then.
Riot was the go-to album for emo chicks everywhere. Like, its lyrics were definitely on many an AIMOA message. It was genre defining.
So was my chem.
We didn't have a female emo starlet up until Haley came onto the scene.
I'll agree.
So she was, for women, genre defining. That band was genre defining. Let's see.
Here's my thing.
She was
don't have
the
anything
female
against Riot.
emo influencer.
I don't have anything against Riot.
I know you don't, but these are my arguments.
Okay.
Misery Business became a hit, spending 22 weeks at number 3 on the alternative song chart.
Okay.
It's been on a lot of like top 100 lists. It's at the Modern Classics list at number 10. It was 16 on the Rock Sound's 51 most influential pop punk albums of all time list. Like that when you list emo albums, I would venture a guess that Riot's going to be in the top 5.
It's a bold statement for, especially when the biggest song on the album they don't even play anymore.
I mean, okay, but that's not because of the popularity of the song. That's because she's grown as a person, which does come into my third point.
I know it's going to.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So they have won an incredible number of awards and been nominated for a ton of them. Paramore has received 26 awards from 67 nominations. They received 1 nomination from the American Music Award for New Artist of the Year, and other nominations in other magazines and popular vote ceremonies. The single "Ain't It Fun" won a Grammy.
Ain't
Haley
It Fun
Williams
is a pop song.
What?
Ain't It Fun is a pop song.
But, okay, that ties into my third point. They continue to be successful because as a band, they
Outside
are
of
willing
emo.
to, they evolve.
I understand
They keep up with the times. They're still played on alternative charts. Haley Williams' song is being played on your station right now as we, speak.
I'm not arguing that.
They have had continued success.
Haley Williams' song, which, as I'm sitting here looking, played 3 songs ago, her new stuff, it's a pop record. It's not an emo song.
But
it's a pop record.
They were they were an emo band. They have evolved. They have been able to continue to be successful because of their talents, because of their ability to evolve as the time goes.
Here's the
if
same
they were
argument,
still
though.
pumping out emo records, they wouldn't be popular because emo isn't popular anymore.
Well, here's a counter argument that falls in that same line. Would you consider Taylor Swift to be the greatest country artist?
I would consider her to be one of them. Dolly Parton's the greatest country artist, but
you
I would
get
consider
my point. It's a completely different genre. She's a pop star.
I would consider her the greatest pop star. I would consider her one of the greatest country stars of all time.
See, but she's not country anymore.
Not anymore. She evolved.
An emo band.
But emo is a genre. Who's still making emo records?
But
that's
not
okay? And
that's
then
not
to
what
your
I'm
point,
conversating.
how many records has My Chemical Romance made since 2010?
Since 2010, none.
Exactly.
That'll play into what my point is, though. But
they have not continued to have success because they haven't continued to do anything.
They announced a reunion and sold out all of their tickets in a matter of seconds.
If Paramore had gone away after Riot and then they announced a reunion tour, I have no doubt that the same thing would happen.
Okay. And I'm not going to disagree with that. But when their albums after have been pop-leaning records and haven't been emo records, and those are the ones that are getting awards.
Who knows what My Chemical Romance would have done? They could have put out a fucking R&B record. Who knows what they would have done? I think that a band's ability to evolve, to change with the times, to continue to put out something new and exciting every time they put out a record counts towards their ability as a band. It counts as making them one of the best emo bands. They have evolved past emo music, but music as a whole has evolved past emo music.
I understand that. It's actually coming back. It's now entering into the hip-hop world instead of into the rock world. There's more emo hip-hop that's starting to come out, and that's becoming the big thing.
So, okay, but just because let's talk about Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
He's making pop records now.
Yes.
Would you not consider Panic at the Disco one of the greatest emo bands of all time?
See, that's not the point that I'm trying to get across.
I don't understand the point that you're trying to get across then.
Okay, let's, in the words of Haley, let's simmer down. Okay. Riot, 100% an emo album. Okay.
All We Know Is Falling, also an emo album.
Okay.
The album after Riot, also an emo album.
As you start getting to today's times, the further you go, the further it deviates from that.
The self-titled and the last album were the first, I would say, pop-leaning albums that they had.
Okay. All right. So they are included in this argument. I'm not saying they're not included in the argument. Mm-hmm. Same as with Panic at the Disco. When you look at the first couple of albums, very, very emo, and then starts getting more into the pop world. So basing their success as an emo band off of their current work that's not emo, I don't think that falls into the argument.
I do, because I think it shows skill as a band. I'm
not disagreeing with that.
So it's the emo part that you are contesting.
Yes.
I disagree.
Well, that's what this is all about, but I'm focusing on the emo parts.
Okay, let me get to my third point, which is that, I mean, you're going to contest this because
I'm going to contest
it's not one of their quote-unquote emo albums.
I know.
After Laughter debuted at 6 on the U.S. Billboard 200, making it their third top 10 on the chart.
Okay.
How many top 10 albums on the charts have My Chemical Romance had?
3.
Okay, so they're tied.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, but all of their albums have been emo albums.
Because they only put out like 2 albums or 3 albums.
They put out 3 major debut albums. They had some other stuff in there, but 3 major studio albums. They had a couple stuff before that.
And then they bowed out. They quit.
Yeah. I'll get to that.
Paramore kept going, and they continue to be successful.
They changed direction. But here, and I'll get to that point, and I'll make my stance about why that actually happened.
Go for it. I'm listening.
I feel like I'm going to fucking change your mind at this point. But again, my argument for why My Chemical Romance is the best emo band of all time. Every single song that you hear from My Chemical Romance is unquestionably an emo song. There was no transition into this is a pop song.
Because they transitioned out of making music.
For a reason. Again, I will get to that. But when you hear their albums, when you hear something off of 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, you know it's an emo song. When you hear something off of The Black Parade, you know it's an emo song. And it's unquestionably emo. So their entire work as a whole is so in tune with what the genre is. This is point number 1.
Okay.
Point number 2, they did go away after they put out the Fabulous Killjoys album. And that was 10 years ago when that album came out. So they put the album out, they toured. So 9 years of them being gone as a band.
Mm-hmm.
So they announced their reunion, and they announced a show out in LA, and it sells out in seconds. In seconds. And then they start getting announced that they're playing festivals all over the world. Top billing for festivals everywhere, which shows how much people love My Chemical Romance, even though there hasn't been any new music in 10 years.
Paramore sells out shows. Like, that's, I don't think that this is, if they had gone away for 10 years and then they decided that they were going to tour the Riot album as a 10-year reunion thing, I have no doubt that they would sell out in seconds, too.
Neither do I. But if you're going to put My Chemical Romance in one venue and Paramore in an identical venue next door, My Chemical Romance is going to sell out before Paramore does. 100%.
We will never know.
We won't, but that's just my opinion. But
we could agree to disagree on that, but
yeah. But when they announced that reunion, like, everything came to a crashing halt. Like, it was the top news story of everywhere. It's like, so even when they're gone for 10 years,
I'm going to let you get through your third point, and then I'm going to bring something up that's going to get a lot of people heated, but I might as well at this point. I'm already pissing off a ton of people.
Yeah, you are. My third point is pretty much counter to your point about Riot, and that is dealing with the Black Parade album, which is a masterpiece of an album. When you look at how the album is constructed from an emo rock standpoint, but also from a concept album standpoint, like,
I didn't know that was a concept album.
So it's based around a character whose name is the patient, who has cancer. And it's about,
that's sad.
It's about his life, his death, the afterlife, reflection on life. That's how the Black Parade is set up. So it's a concept album. So from start to finish, the storytelling is incredible. I am a sucker for concept albums. I always will be.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love when bands can tell a story through
I kind
all
of
of
think
their
that
songs.
they're hokey, but
God, you are like, oh my God, I'm going to leave you here. So, God,
okay,
all right.
just keep going.
But with the Black Parade, it's triple platinum in the U.S. and in the U.K. Mm-hmm. It's platinum in 6 different countries. Europe is also included as a single entity in that. And also it went gold in 3 different countries. And Welcome to the Black Parade happens to be one of the biggest and most popular alternative gold songs in the entire country. So excluding the true number 1 and number 2, when you look at the media-based rankings year to date so far, number 1 is Portugal the Man, Feel It Still. Number 2 is the Revivalists, Wish I Knew You. And both of those songs fall into a recurrent category for a lot of people.
I'm kind of surprised that those are number 1 and number 2.
Why?
I don't know. I just wouldn't have. The Revivalists, especially. I would have thought it'd been Portugal the Man and Foster the People.
No, Foster the People ranks pretty high, but not quite.
Okay.
A lot of people dip out of Pumped Up Kicks because of the lyrical content and all that.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
But again, I mean, those records are from the past 5 years.
Okay.
So they technically fall into the gold library.
Uh-huh.
Some people are still playing them as recurrent albums. So
okay.
I don't really want to include those two because it seems unfair.
This is getting very technical to radio, so we gotta dumb it down a little.
Well, that I just
not dumb it down. That was insulting to people, but just not use so much jargon.
Sorry,
okay.
But I want to point that out because I am excluding them from this. So, Welcome to the Black Parade would technically rank number 3 overall, right behind Jimmy Eat World the Middle and The Killers, Mr. Brightside.
Okay.
As like what I would consider 1 and 2, like the real 1 and 2. So Welcome to the Black Parade is number 3 for alternative radio year to date with library plays. So, I mean, essentially what you would consider to be the title song for the album. So outside of that, the box set, the re-release box set for the album was nominated for a Grammy. The actual album wasn't, but the re-release was. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting point too. I didn't know that going into it. But yeah, that was a little bit weird. In a poll from Kerrang in the UK, it was ranked number 2 for the best rock albums of the 2000s.
What was number 1?
I don't know.
Okay.
If I had to guess, probably Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
I'm gonna look it up. You keep going.
That's just me though, because that's just a fantastic album. But the album was so good, and this is what plays into the band hasn't put out music in 10 years. So after the Black Parade, and they put out the Fabulous Killjoys album, had a couple of good songs, but it got so much backlash from fans, from critics, not because it was a bad album, but because it wasn't as good as the Black Parade. And the band has openly said that they essentially called it quits because they didn't want the rest of their music to be put up against the Black Parade. They just wanted to avoid that completely. They didn't want that to be the bar that everybody set for what they should be, what they should achieve. So that's how good of an album they made. It forced them to look at their career as a whole and say, we can't top this in anyone's mind, so we're going to stop.
Which I think shows you're a quitter.
I don't think it shows you're a quitter. I think it was, a lot of bands are able to have that transition to a different genre. Paramore did it
being one of them.
They did it successfully. Fall Out Boy did it successfully. Panic at the Disco. A lot of bands made that transition, and it was okay for them.
But this does say that My Chemical Romance said we can only do one thing well, and this is that one thing, so we're just gonna quit.
I don't think that's the way of looking at it. If you want to look at it that way, sure.
As a
I look at
sidebar, Kerrang's #1 rock album of the 2000s was American Idiot by Green Day.